To the DDM model, we have three ways to estimate the future dividends. We have the H model, the constant growth model, and the non-constant growth model. So I have some inputs here: the current dividend, the initial growth rate, the terminal growth rate. I'm going to phrase this way: the years of initial growth. So rather than years to terminal growth, I'm going to say years of initial growth, and my cost of equity. The first thing I want to do with the dividend here is I don't want to do the dividend just yet. I want to do the growth rate of the dividend. So I'm going to put this all in percent. Just going to see if I can get that growth rate right. Year one is going to be different than the other years, because with the H model or the non-constant growth model, it's going to be the initial growth rate of 20. Only with the constant growth model will it have the 5%. So I can say here equal if I can say if this is equal to C, and I don't need to lock anything down because I'm not going to copy this. If that's equal to C, give me the terminal growth rate. If not, give me the initial growth rate. So I got that. Now this is where it starts to get a little more difficult. So what I'm going to do is first just do the H model as if we were doing nothing else other than the H model. And I'll say, well, we have to decide, are we going to be in that high growth, which means is this year less than or equal to the years of initial growth, which I'm going to lock that down because that won't change. If that is true, then I'm going to have the initial growth rate. Lock that down. That doesn't change. If that's not true, I'm going to start subtracting from that initial growth rate. And I'm going to do this. There are different ways to do it. I think this is the most efficient. I'm going to say, I'm going to take that initial growth rate and I want to subtract some amount, and it's going to be that amount is going to be determined by the following. I'm going to start out at 20%, lock that down. I'm going to go down to 5%, lock that down, and I'm going to do that over the course of, if I have the H model says if you have 4 years of initial growth, you take 4 years to go from the initial growth down to the constant growth. So I need to lock that down, and I'm going to hit enter. And this is not quite finished. We're going to do this one step at a time. Let's copy it part of the way out. And look, that just goes down 4. It just goes from 20 down to 16. So what it needs to do, it needs to count like here. I'm going down 16, 12, 8, and so forth. And those numbers are rounded. So let me give something like 23 and 3. So I'll be going down 5. This should go 23, 18, 13, 8, 3. Like that, but it's not doing that. So what it should do is subtract. Every time it subtracts, well, I can multiply this the following way. I can say the total number of years in H, lock that down. I'm sorry, I'm doing it the wrong way. The number of years that I'm in, the year that I'm in, minus the total years of this decline, F4, close it up, and times. And now let me copy that across. We still have a small flaw in it. And I didn't lock down something correctly. The G2, H2. So this is, well, I have a minus. Oh, I don't have my parentheses correct. I should have this. I just had this in the wrong spot. So it should be right there. Lock that down, minus. There we go. And now we're going down correctly. So see what it's doing. It's saying if this is, let me go up to the year where it's happening. If this 5 is less than or equal to 4, which it is, then, which it's not, then I do what's the false part, which says I take the initial growth rate C4 and I subtract something. So J2 minus C6, I subtract 5 minus 4, that's 1 times the step size, and then it'll be 2 times the step size, and so forth. But you see this becomes negative. I don't want it to become negative, So what I have to do here, and you can see why I'm doing this in phases, by the way, because it gets very complicated. So to me it's easier to do it like this. I'm going to have max of what I just calculated, or the terminal growth rate, and lock that down. And I gotta make sure I have the parenthesis in the right place. That was my problem. Max of all this, comma that. And parenthesis needs to get rid of right there. I don't like parentheses. I often mess them up, but you can always quickly solve them. So let's see if that works. Yes, that works. I'm going, that's my H model, 23% for 4 years, and then it goes down to 3. If I change that to 5 years or to 6 years, it's still going to work every time, so I'll just go back to leave it at 4. Now I want to do the non-constant growth model. I'm going to do that right here, even though, I mean, these are not, this is just for temporary. I'm just going to look at this just for a second. So if I'm doing non-constant growth, what I need to do here is say equal if this is less than or equal to the number of years of that fast growth, then I come up with the initial growth rate, and if that's not true, I do the terminal growth rate, and now I copy that across. And what happens? 23 down to 3. If I change that to 5 years, that's working. So what I need to do is combine this row into this row. So what I'll do here is I'll start out and say if this cell, and I'll lock that down because I want to check that at each point, is equal to H, then I'll do all this, comma, if it's not, I need another if statement that says if this year is less than or equal to the number of years of initial growth, then I come up with the 23%. For if not, I do the 3%. F4, close my parentheses. Hey, I got the parentheses right. That makes me feel good. Copy this across. I'm going all the way to 20 here. Nothing changes because I have the H model selected, but if I come here and do this NC, NC matches exactly what I have there. If I change that to 4, so I feel I have that right, so I'm going to get rid of this, clear that out. Well, now what if it's not H and it's not NC? What if it's C? So what I can do, I can say right here, if this, and lock that down, F4 is equal to, in quotes, C, then just give me the terminal growth rate, lock that down, comma, and this means I need to add a parenthesis at the end, enter. Now let me copy that across. Now of course nothing's changed because we haven't changed our model, so let's go with the H model. That appears to work. C, it's all 3%. NC, it looks perfect. Okay, but now these are just percentages. These are not dividends, it's not dollars. I need to get that into actual dollars, so let me change the formatting to dollars. And what I'm going to do is say the dividend at year 1 is equal to the dividend, the first dividend, the current dividend, times 1 plus that rate. Enter. So that's 246, and this will be equal to the previous dividend times 1 plus that rate. Press that down and copy across. That appears to be right, but I'm not 100% sure it's right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to say equal beginning or equal end minus, or divide by beginning minus 1, and that gives me my percentages, growth rates. For NC it's 23, goes down to 3. For C it's all 3s. for H, yeah, all those, they're all working correctly. So now what I can do is I'll come up with the price. Let me put this on C. My present value is going to equal to the dividend of that year divided by 1 plus the cost of equity. Lock that down, raise it to the power of the year, copy that across, all the way across. And in this year, I need to have the terminal value, which is going to be that dividend times 1 plus, and this is always going to be the terminal growth rate because by 20 years we are at the terminal growth, divided by K minus G, hit enter, and then this needs to be not just Y3, but Y4 plus Y3, and you can just type in Y4 or you can highlight the cell, whichever one. And now I want to see if this is correct, so I can do, well, first sum up the present values, Alt equal, makes Excel guess what I want to sum up, then I just highlight what I actually want to sum. That sums to $22.89. Let's see if that's correct. So over here I can say I know the formula for the constant growth is going to be the dividend that year times 1.03 divided by 0.09, 22.89. So I have that correct. So now I feel very confident that that is the price for the constant growth model. And then the next thing is to create a data table with cost of equity on one axis and the terminal growth on another. Let me just cut these, paste them right there. So I'm going to say right here, this is equal to the price. I want cost of equity to be over here. So let me see, I'm going to do here start value for K and increment for K. And start value I'm going to say is 12%. I want all this in percent. 12%. No, I'm going to do a start value now of 12. So start value of 8 and an increment of 2. So there's my start value, and it's going to be equal to the one before it plus the increment F4. And I don't know if I should do 10 of these or 5 or how many. I'm just going to do 5, and this is going to be my cost of equity across here. Actually, I want to insert, bring this down one to make it look a little better. So insert by shifting columns down. I'm going to call this my, right here, cost of equity. Merge and center. And then I'm going to have Control C, Control V. I'm going to call this my start value for G and my increment for G. So let's do a start value of 0 with the increment of 1. So I'll just have equal to this and equal to this plus that, F4. Let's copy this down one more all the way to 5. So now I have my data table set up. So let's just go to data, what if analysis, data table, and in my row is the cost of equity, and in my column is the terminal growth. Click OK. Format this a little bit better. Home, do this, and then here are all my values, and I can do conditional formatting. Conditional formatting, highlight everything that's greater than, let's just say that this is available for sale for $25. So if anything greater than $25, give me green, because we want to buy under those circumstances. And the same thing for less than $25, just give it red. And so as long as my cost of equity is below 8%, my growth rate's above 0, then I'm willing to buy this. I'm buy where there's green, sell where there's red. So you do something very similar for the data table of model choice. I'll go ahead and do that here. My model choice is going to be H, C, and NC. I want to move those down to there, and once again equal this. And I'm just going to type in, rather than, well, I'll do the start value, that'll be easy enough, equal to that, equal to the previous plus the increment. I said they do terminal growth, okay, did the wrong thing, equal this, equal to the previous value plus the increment. Copy that across. I'm going to make this increment 1.5, so we'll go up to 6. Means I really need to show another decimal there. So here I can once again go to data, what if analysis, data table, and my row is growth rate, and in my column is the model choice, and make it look pretty. And that's it. So you can check this by having C is 2289, C at 3% is 2289, H at 3% is 5343, and NC, if I can select it, NC is 4346, 4346. So now we feel good about that. We can even put in here 6, and we can see that 6156 is at 6156. So you can feel very confident that you have this correct. So that is the 3 different dividend discount models that we have.